It is the former.
Chaps,
we've got to talk about the title.
Yeah, a tenner and a box of Kippers.
That's the first thing I get asked now.
Oh,
well, for 20 years they were asking me what it was like to score a diving header in a cup final.
Yeah.
But obviously now I get asked, what's the title all about, the book, A Tenner and a Box of Kippers. I've got the actual authors here with me today. But we argued about that for about 2 years, actually, because it didn't do it for me.
Is it your transfer fee, your first transfer?
Well, that's what everybody thinks. My first transfer. It was a transfer fee. It was I think it was about 1920s or something in Hartlepool. Somebody did actually move for a tenner and a box of Kippers, believe it or not. And it's a catchy title. If nothing else, it's a talking point, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Tony Cascarino famously
He went for tracksuits, didn't he?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's what he tells you. Is that an urban myth, or did that really happen?
At least it wasn't
I wonder sometimes.
Yeah. I think it was to Chelsea for a couple of tracksuits with no one.
At least it wasn't your last transfer.
Yeah, that was a bit more worrying.
Yeah.
Now, you came down, you nearly signed for Palace. You went down to Palace and had trials there very, very early on.
I was as a schoolboy, I was at Palace, that was the first club I went to as like a 14-year-old, really. I was up at Crystal Palace with the likes of Vince Hilaire, and I used to travel down with the Fenwick brothers. There was John, Terry and John.
I never realised Terry had a brother.
Yeah, John was the goalkeeper, and I always remember I had the better digs, actually. I had nicer digs than them two up in Croydon. But I got released, and I think I'm sure that the day I went back on the train up to Darlington, they jumped into my digs, I'm pretty sure.
You got released because you were too small. I mean, looking at you now...
No, too skinny.
Too skinny.
Too skinny. They said it was, I remember, I think it was Malcolm Allison or somebody said to me, get yourself home and drink lots of Guinness. So I've been following that advice ever since, I can tell you.
That's fantastic. I did now. Imagine that at a club, them saying, get yourself home and drink lots of Guinness. They're trying to prove how much it's changed.
Well,
really?
yeah.
It's, you come from a big family, don't you? Fair to say, probably working class background.
Very working class background, me, yeah. Back streets of Middlesbrough, really. I was brought up in the streets around the old Ayson Park, which is where Middlesbrough used to play out of years ago. I went to the school right next to Ayson Park.
Haven't they got a new estate there now? Because they've kind of named a lot of the roads.
Yeah, totally gone, completely obliterated.
They kept bits of the old stadium though, didn't they? And
did they?
I think they've kept bits of the old stadium.
What, in the Houchen estate?
I think they have. They've named
I do have houses in that area because I have a contract with TSA University for students and stuff, which is in that kind of area. But I've never actually been. That's quite posh, really, for the rest of the area.
Yeah.
But whether they've kept bits like that or not, I don't know. I know they've kept the original gates from Ayson Park, and they're up at the riverside. I noticed through the week. They're actually up there outside the riverside.
And you were telling us you're doing a bit of work for the club as well now.
I do a little bit, yeah. I run a development centre for Middlesbrough with the kids, obviously very young kids. I start with 7-year-olds right up to, I think our limit is about 14, 15. Which is really, if you can imagine, a lot of feeders coming off the academy all around the area. I mean, I'm Yorkshire. I'm just outside a place called Thirsk between Middlesbrough and York. Yeah. And it used to be really big Leeds years ago, but obviously the problems they've had the last 5, 6, 7 years. Sure. Middlesbrough expanding further and further out. And I just get kids sent to me to coach, really. Good kids get picked up, sent to me.
They've been picked up from the kind of local Sunday League teams and stuff?
Well, you'll have scouts in the area, and they'll pick up lads that they think are half decent, and they'll come down. See, I mean, it's quite limited what you can do, because you're only in like a big sports hall anyway, which is basic technique.
You can't do the diving headers on the sports
You can't teach diving headers. No, it's instinctive. It is instinctive, exactly. It is instinctive, yeah.
We've talked about this on the programme before, a long time ago, but the art of the diving header is something that has disappeared mostly out of football. You don't really see the forward flinging himself at the ball like that.
I don't think it's something you can practice, really. I don't know whether it says in the book or not, but I remember after that, John Sillett and George Curtis had us all out this following season, pre-season, when we came back, doing diving headers, trying to do diving headers, because they said, well, look what's happened with Gordon Header. We've won the FA because it was the biggest trophy to win at the time. And we were really hopeless, you know. We couldn't hit the target. So I don't think it's something you can really practice.
There were, the famous ones. I'm trying to think of the great. Your one, Ozzy had got a great one, didn't he, in a cup final in
we're talking some time ago now, aren't we?
Yeah, who was that? Peter Osgood, did he?
Ozzy got a very good one as well. So it's kind of, and he used to do that a lot.
When was the last big diving header in a Premiership game?
It's delivery in that though, isn't it? And is it? I mean, the equipment's changed incredibly, hasn't it? I mean, the pitches, the boots, and the balls themselves. It could have been a different ball that's doing it, because we all had the almighties in the old days, and you know, if you bent it was an accident.
Maybe they're a yard quicker, Keith, as well.
Maybe they get there and volley in.
Well, you had the riot, then you had the dive. They were already there. They're standing there. They're looking at their watch when the ball comes.
Yeah, well, exactly. They were Velcros as well. I tipped over my lace, didn't I? That's what made me fly forward.
And you were recently at Wembley at the Cup final. I was there today. You were part of the legends. You are a Wembley legend, aren't you, really? It
was a massive honour for me. Like you say, it's 20 years now, really. And I mean, I'm not really involved in professional football as such. So it's a great honour for me to get a phone call from the FA saying, we'd like you to come down as our guest of honour. And go and do a Legends parade, and it was just they really did look after us, really put on a fantastic day. I even found a Keith Houchen bar at Wembley, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah,
they're all
Keith Houchen bar at Wembley.
As a Tottenham fan, I'm not having a drink in there.
I
I've got to be
thought
honest.
that was because a company came up to me obviously and said, I've just been having a drink in your bar, and I says, no, I don't have any bars.
Yeah.
And they said, no, not your bar, there's a bar down there with your name on it. So obviously I went,
Yeah, I dived over the kitchen.
yeah.
That's what they're going to. I think we had somebody say that.
That's an honour, innit, having a bar at Wembley.
So have you not seen your own bar? You've not had a
I went and
chance?
had a look at it, but I couldn't get a drink. It was locked up, unfortunately.
No,
But
of course you can get it.
They've got the Pope. There's a Pope bar as well.
Is there really?
The Pope comes to
Well,
Wembley in
we've been doing a diving
1982.
header.
Well, he was a goalkeeper, wasn't he?
That's right, yeah.
I think that's some claim to fame, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
not so bad.
Bar at Wembley.
Anyway, Keith Houchen's with us. Going to talk more shortly. Any emails, texts, any questions for Keith? Talksport.net. Text us at 8. Afternoon, Hawksbee and Jacobs here on Talksport. We've got a birthday spread to come, and you could win an MPix Dream Team from the fine photographic agency up in Nottingham. MPix, big frame photograph. Your favourite players, all your favourite players 1 to 11 in a dream team, or just a big photo from their archive. Whatever you'd like, it could be yours by winning. 08717 223344, the number to call for the birthday spread. James Allen's going to join us live from the States to have a chat about Fernando Alonso getting stuck into Lewis Hamilton and his team as well, about preferential treatment. And we'll have a chat with Jason McAteer later on, who's decided to retire from the game. But Keith Houchen is with us in the studio. We're talking about his book, A Tenner and a Box of Kippers. And some nice emails coming in. And let's not forget the good people of York. He says, what about that goal against the Arsenal in '85? This one's from Mike. What memories do you have of that day and the team you played in, and what prompted your transfer, he says?
Oh, it's difficult. I thought it was 84, actually. Was it 85?
I think it was 85.
It was a great day, fantastic day. I mean, it was the old FA Cup, wasn't it? The old days where, I mean, we spent the morning clearing the pitch of straw and snow, but they'd covered it in straw to keep it from freezing over.
Well, the players had to do it.
And then, no, we got the supporters, and the supporters all came down. I think a few of the players might have joined in, because obviously we were desperate to get it on.
Yeah.
And got the game on. It was half frozen on one side and really soft on the other side, remember that? And Arsenal were like a big side, you know, big glamour
Big
side.
players,
Yeah, you can see Thierry Henry these days. You can see him taking the straw off the pitch.
Coming down to Kit Kat Bootham Crescent. And,
Yeah.
So they weren't. I mean, obviously the Arsenal lads weren't happy that day. I mean, it was a scruffy match. And,
You won the penalty as well, didn't you? I remember.
I had to carry Williams for about 20 yards to get in the box before I fell over. So he was only a little fella. And yeah, penalty last minute, really.
It struck me though that those two memorable FA Cup goals will be remembered in a way that I don't think Didier Drogba's winner will be. We were saying what a poor game it was and everything.
Yeah.
But I think the FA Cup when you played was a thing where you could become a legend, and I'm not sure now whether it is.
Well, right from a kid for me, but certainly when I first got into football, it was the holy grail. The only way you got to play at Wembley was hard to play if you couldn't play in the FA Cup final. And the FA Cup final was obviously the one that we all wanted to play in and try and win. And I saw it from both sides, actually. Like you say, I seen it as a giant killer. And then obviously after we'd won the cup with Coventry, we went to Sutton United and you know, tight little ground, same sort of thing, and we got knocked out. So I saw every side of the FA Cup through my career. But just a fantastic trophy, like I say, at the time, and the trophy that we all wanted to win, and I dreamed about winning it right from a kid, watching the early Chelsea-Leeds matches and things, you know.
I mean, it's financial. The reason they have the semi-finals at Wembley as from next year, but it does devalue the final a bit, doesn't it? Definitely. They're not quite the same having both semi-finals at Wembley as well.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, surely that the aim of the competition is to be the last to win it, to get to play at Wembley and play in the final, you know. So
you'd imagine that would be the case. Anyway, we've got loads of emails. We must try and get through them, Keith. It says this is from Paul. It says, what was it like playing for Edinburgh's small team, the Hibbies?
He's a jamble, is he?
Yeah, he's a jamble.
Yeah. I've heard that before.
Yeah, he's taking the mickey. And this one also from Gav in Edinburgh. Can you remember your debut goal for the Hibbies against Hearts? I'm 27 and I'm still Keith Houchen when we play fives. That goal.
Yes, I do remember it fine. Well, that was my first game. Obviously, I knew very little about Edinburgh and Hibs Hearts and the big rivalry and everything. And I literally signed for Alec Miller at Coventry, jumped on the plane and flew down, and my first game was a Hibs Hearts derby.
Oh, really?
That was yeah. I needed an iron lung after that match. But we had 5 minutes on the pitch, basically setting up a set piece where I got round the back and they tried to find me. and sometimes it just works out perfectly. He's floated it in, and it was a header into the top corner, and it was a great way to start.
Yeah,
really enjoyed my
derby,
time
fantastic.
a derby at Tynecastle.
Went a bit sour with some of their fans though at the end,
Yeah,
didn't it?
fell out with them. I tend to do that. I tend to fall out with people after a while. 2 years at any club, and I was tended to get a little bit restless. But
you don't seem like an objectionable bloke. So
well, I was a different animal when I was playing. I've got to say that I have mellowed as I've got older. And yeah, I mean, it's very fish bowlish actually. I mean, at the time it was very big up in Scotland. It was what Sky had first come in. We didn't have the European football in England, and it was really big up in Scotland, but it was a lot of rivalry, and it was played so frenetically, and I felt like I didn't really get a fair crack of the whip off the referees with the old anti-English bias and that was going on, and just things like that. And then the Hibs supporters were really demanding, terribly demanding, and they were real close to you. And if we were struggling a little bit, the scarves would come on and the caps would come on, and a bit of swearing and what have you. And I just made the mistake of repeating it back to them.
Have you got all your old shirts from all the clubs you played for?
I've got a few shirts actually, but not all my clubs. No, I don't.
Is it true that Watford once tried to sign you? Says Greg, the Watford fan.
Yes, I did. That was when I was at Hibs. Actually, I'd had a couple of years. I'd had a year and a half at Hibs, and it was a chance that I could have gone back to Watford. I think they offered the same wingers that I'd gone up to Hibernian for. And that was one of the reasons why I actually fell out with Alec Miller. Actually, that didn't come about and didn't happen. But yeah, that would have been quite interesting. Go up to Watford.
You've had a little crack at management as well, didn't you?
Yes.
At Hartlepool, weren't you?
I was well. I started at Hartlepool.
Yeah,
I started, like I say, I started in '77, and I went full circle and went back, and managed them for 2 years, and it was the toughest thing I've ever tried to do in my life. I mean, it was just trying to do. It's literally trying to do an impossible job, really.
Yeah.
But, I give it a good crack, and had a good long look at it, and I thought, like, 20 years as a player moving every 2 or 3 years, do I really want another 20 years as a manager moving every 2 or 3 years without the release, really, of going out and playing? Because when I first took over, I was player manager, so I could go out and play, and I didn't seem to get as frustrated, but once my knees went, and I was literally just the manager, I just found it terribly frustrating. And
also, it seems to kind of it just takes over your life. The manager's job.
You can't switch off. You couldn't switch off from it. And I mean, it was ridiculous what you're trying to do at that level. I mean, my budget for my final year, my budget for the year was £260,000, believe it or not, and that was for me, my assistant Mick Tate, my secretary Maureen, and then I had to get a squad of players together. And it was, you just like you say, you don't switch off. I mean, we were looking for. I always remember the only thing I can boast about really from that time is. Going over to Tower Lawn, seeing a big central midfielder called Stevie Howard, and we took him in for nothing, and he'll tell you we paid him £100 a week, and I followed his career since, and he's had a fantastic career.
Chrissy Waddle's old club, that was, wasn't it? I think.
Tower Lawn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the end of the. You don't want to be going over there late at night. It's the end of the world. It's like being on the moon. Them pit villages over there, do you know what I mean? But Stevie's done fantastically well, and now obviously he's going to be playing in the Premier League, so I'm really excited for him.
Yeah,
it's fantastic for him. Yeah.
Brilliant. One of the advantages of playing for so many clubs is you've got so many fans that remember you with affection. Keith Houchen's still a Port Vale FC legend after helping us along with Robbie Earle, Darren Beckford to get promotion in the 89-90 season. That's Woody, Stoke-on-Trent.
Enjoyed my time over at Stoke, actually. It was a really nice part of the world. I mean, it's a bit like where I come from, actually. Vale Park, it's all little street houses and stuff, which is where I come from Middlesbrough. And just really nice, warm people in the Stoke area. I really enjoyed my time there.
Mark from Cov, a lot of Cov fans have been saying, well, we love you, Keith. A lot of it talking about the Cup final. You're a Coventry legend, but question from Mark, who says, do you get down to Coventry much, and what do you think of our chances for promotion next season?
Well, funnily enough, I hadn't been to Coventry for a lot of years. It's 20 years this year since we won the FA Cup, believe it or not, and I've had a few get-togethers, the lads, that I haven't been able to attend. I've had other things on. But I was there. We launched the book in Leamington Spa in December, and I was a guest at the Ricoh, so it's the first time, obviously, that I'd been to the Ricoh Stadium, which is, fantastic, state-of-the-art. Promotion, I don't know. It's going to take a bit of time because they've been in the doldrums for a few years now. I think there was twice I went, two games that I did watch. They were obviously under a little bit of pressure. Mickey Adams was under a little bit of pressure, which again, like I say, I know that feels like because I've been there and done it. And I think the side were very, very hard working. They were certainly giving everything that they had, but there's certainly not enough there at the moment to be thinking about promotion. Realistically, I don't think. But then you don't know because it can all turn around so quickly in football, can't it? And Ian Dowie obviously seems to be the man that's going to set them on the road again, hopefully.
Coventry fans will be pleased to know that you're wearing a sky blue shirt today.
Yeah.
Dark blue. That could be their new home kit, really. Dark blue stripe.
Well, sky blue forever now, aren't
Yeah,
I?
of course.
So you do a bit for the Press Association around the grounds, Keith, and any other plans to sort of get back into football or not?
No. That's, I mean, professionally, like I say, I've seen it and done it. It was my life from like 13-year-old, really going down to Crystal Palace as a school kid, and when I got to 36, and I just wanted to see what it was like out there in that big bad world, and got out of it. But it's a different game anyway, to be honest. It's moved on so much. Certainly at the top level. Yeah. Although having said that, I mean, it's really interesting doing the Press Association work, because I'm just outside of York, so I cover York a lot, which is great. So I'm seeing like the Vauxhall Conference, and it's real, it's real old-fashioned football. It's fantastic, proper tackles. Nobody dives around, right? They get up and and I'll go over to Bradford. I mean, the trouble is, the clubs I've been following the last couple of years have all tended to struggle, and I'm not sure whether that's me being a joke or not, because I cover Leeds and they've struggled. I cover Bradford and they've struggled, and I do York and they've really struggled. So I don't, whether it's big sticks, big Ormonroyd over at Bradford. As soon as I walk in the press box, I always says, "Oh no, we're losing today." Then, so, give me a complex, But it is really interesting seeing all the different sides, and obviously I do the Premier League as well. So I'm seeing all the sides, which is great, really. It's interesting,
It's great. Gaunty's read the book. He recommended it to all the listeners before. He really enjoyed it. And, he says it's not your normal football.
It definitely isn't. No, I think it's really well written. Jonathan's a very articulate man, and it's more like a novel, really. I mean, your typical football book is about he kicked me last year, and then I got up and then we thought about, and I got him back next year, and then we all went out drunk and drink. It's not like that, really, because
you've read Alan's book.
Very hard.
Well, I was a bit on edge, when Jonathan came to me and says, "I want to do a book on your career," it was a bit, you kind of think, well, how's it going to come out? I mean, it could have been 3 times as wide as that, because we could have talked forever. But it's literally as a journey. He picks me up as a kid, jumping on the, running around the streets of Middlesbrough, obviously, and jumping on the train and coming up to King's Cross, and it just kind of follows me from chapter to chapter, as club to club. And obviously, I think what makes the book and what makes my career so interesting is the fact that it was a lot of struggle, and it was seeing all different facets of football, but then all of a sudden we went, and this holy grail just appeared in the middle of it for all of that side, because we were all lads that had worked really hard to get where we were. And we just, like you say, we went on that incredible run. It just seemed to come from nowhere, and we went along with it, and it was just such exciting times.
Well, Keith, good to meet you.
Yeah,
and best of luck with the book. A Tenner and a Box of Kippers by Keith Houchen and Jonathan Strange is published by Stadia at $14.99. Good to see you.
Great, thanks for having me. Thank you.
It's 2:15. We've got